Shall we have now Honorable Yusuf Haji, member for Mandera West.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I sincerely thank my colleague, Major Bashir, for having brought this bill, which is very timely. Mr. Speaker, sir, livestock, has already been said, contributes 12% of the GDP and 60% of the employment opportunities within the agricultural sector. This country, 80% of this country is arid and semi-arid, and the best practice, economic practice that can happen in this arid and semi-arid is livestock. But unfortunately, compared to the other sectors of agriculture and other sectors of productivity in this country, the livestock has always been given a very raw deal. Just compare the sort of boards that are there in this country. You hear of pyrethrum board. You don't have a livestock board. You hear of cotton board. There is no board for livestock. You hear of, this could have compared to, maybe by this time, at this stage, we could have been talking of the camel development board, the sheep and goat development board, and, to compare it with the crop section. But imagine that after those years of independence, we are now talking of the Livestock Development Board. The Livestock Development and Livestock Product Board, this board which we are now discussing, the bill which we are now discussing, was there in the 11th Parliament. It went round and round and round for about the 5 years, and it collapsed with the 11th Parliament. It has now been renewed. 2 years, 2.5 years now down the line, we are still at second reading. I will request my fellow members of Parliament to ensure that we fast track the readings of this and make it into a bill, into an act as quickly as possible. And then the implementation matters. If you look at the historical, before I go to the history, there was a presidential order establishing the same board back in 2012. And from 2012 to today, there is a budget going to the Ministry of Livestock for the sake of this board, which is not there. I don't know what that budget is doing, and since the board is not there. If we look at the historical perspectives, during the British rule, there was what we call the stratified livestock marketing system, whereby the pastoralists and the arid areas do the production at some stage, and then animals are moved to holding grounds where they are cleaned, where they are tested for various diseases, where they are vaccinated, and then moved to the highland ranches, like in Laikipia, where they are finally fattened, and then moved to KMC for slaughter and export market. We used to have the European export market. Unfortunately, we inherited that, but we killed it. We had what is called holding grounds or ranches all over. If I just give you an example of those ranches that were serving KMC, the Beacon Ranch, the Bombing Ranch, those who know, today they are not ranches, they are places for high-rise buildings. Do wananchi of Kenya eat high-rise buildings, or they eat livestock products? Which is a priority? Which is a priority? If we are now talking of the Big Four agenda of this government, and agriculture is one of them. And if we don't develop the livestock sector, if we don't put the livestock board in place, we shall not achieve the Big Four agenda as far as the livestock, agriculture is concerned. And also manufacturing. A lot of raw materials for manufacturing, the hides and skins, the bones, the blood meal, all those come from the livestock sector in order to support the manufacturing sector. And therefore, if we don't put these boards in place, if we don't put a lot of effort on the livestock marketing industry, then we shall not achieve both the agricultural Big Four agenda and also the manufacturing Big Four agenda. Mr. Speaker, sir, I remember very well that back in early 1970s, late 70s and early 80s, Botswana government came to Kenya so that they can be trained in the meat industry. We trained Botswana personnel, we trained them, they took all the knowledge from us here, they went to Botswana, established the Botswana Meat Commission, like our Kenya Meat Commission. Today, the Botswana Meat Commission exports meat to almost all the European countries, and the Botswana economy is based on that meat commission, which we trained, which we sent personnel from here, and we also brought personnel from the area, trained them and established. We killed ours, and now we are going for benchmarking all the time to Botswana. The livestock, the agricultural committee is going to every year to Botswana. And it is the Botswana that we trained. It is unfortunate. If we had a livestock marketing board as early as many years back, then that would not have happened, because there is nothing to regulate this sector, the livestock sector. And that is why today we are looking at other people's industries and other people's development. If we look at the livestock products that need to be looked at, we are talking of the milk, and when we talk of the dairy, at least for the dairy highland, we already have the Kenya Dairy Board. That is why we are putting a lot of emphasis on the products from the ASAL and semi-arid. For your information, from the ASAL area, we also have dairy animals. We have dairy camels, we have dairy goats, we have dual-purpose cattle who are giving us a lot of milk. The ASAL and semi-arid areas do not import milk from the highlands, except during the very serious drought times. The rest of the time, they actually supply milk. A lot of camel milk is being supplied in the Nairobi market today, and it's also medicinal, and that is the dairy. But when you look at the Dairy Board Acts, it does not mention anything to do with the camel milk, which is a very important dairy product. Look at the hides and skins. Today, we are throwing away the hides and skins. In most of the homesteads and in most of the slaughter slabs and abattoirs where we are doing slaughtering of animals, we throw away the hides and skins. They are environmental hazard. We are throwing away this very important product that could have been put into manufacturing, into value addition, and now it is becoming an eyesore and an environmental hazard at our own backyards. Each one of us here in this house, seated this morning, has a hides and skin product somewhere. Look at your shoes. Look at your belt. Look at the bags that we are carrying. These are all hides and skins products. These are all livestock products. This cannot be promoted and improved because we do not have any board in place that can do this work. Livestock numbers in the country. We have never had, I think, a serious livestock census since 1980. I think the last livestock census was done in 1980. We don't know how many animals we are talking about. How do we plan? How do you plan and be prepared for a market which we don't know the basis or the units of supply? This year's census, I think there was a question about livestock. How many animals do you have? How many goats? The enumerators were rarely asking that. When I was being enumerated, and they asked me all the questions, and they told me that is done, I asked them, where is the livestock question? Because I knew there was a livestock census question there. Oh, they told me, sorry, how many camels do you have? That is a very unfortunate way. We have to have livestock census done in this country so that we can know. All this improvement that can only be done if we have a proper board in place that regulates, that guides, and that helps, and that motivates.
The member for Mandera is very passionate about this one because, of course, he's a livestock keeper.